Good day, good afternoon. Welcome to today's episode of Dave's Garage. Now, here you'll see my massive car collection in the background and the car of today in the foreground. And you might not recognize it immediately, but I think if we put it on its side and we put it toward the rear quarter, it will become pretty apparent. We're looking at a clamshell GM station wagon from the 70s. Now, these cars were very dynamic. I mean, they were stupendous. They were incredible. It was GM's heyday in many ways. They came out with this wagon on the 1971s, and the top glass went into the roof, and the bottom went into the floor, and you had a gaping exposure of the back. And you know something? While these cars were a staple of the 70s, they never really wowed the market. It wasn't as if Ford or Chrysler copied them. It was beautiful styling excess. And this is the Buick model of it. It's a 1975 or so Buick estate wagon, and that was the upper range of it. Cadillac didn't have one, but Chevy, Pontiac, Grand Safari, the Chevy was the Kingswood. The Olds I think it was the 98, and here was the Buick version. So what this did was it made for the ultimate station wagon maybe of all time, because who wouldn't want to go back to that day and have something that cool? And in 1977, when the GM cars were downsized, they just went back to a regular two-way tailgate, and it was hard to believe that things were going backward rather than forward. But the market didn't seem to notice. Nobody seemed to love their tailgated clamshell. But you know, I had a friend of mine, girlfriend, back in 1973, and her father had a Catalina station wagon in that beautiful maroon that they had that had the clamshell, and they had a dog named Sandy, and you know, you'd be able to just hit the button, and you know, the window would go up, the door would go down. And the dog would run out, you know, ready to tangle with anybody that was, you know, causing a little concern. Anyway, that's never happened. But the fact is that this was a car and a half, and you know, the roof rack bit, they probably did offer a roof rack. It didn't dominate that much. The portholes, the ventiholes, and the fender were way cool, although they weren't so necessary in those days. The very sculptured line that went from the tail lamp to the hood. It was all of an era that was on its way out come the mid-70s. And, you know, they made them until 76, and then they changed them in 77. But the reason being is that it took time to come up with a new set of cars. So even though these had gone out of style, I mean, they probably would have been changed in 1973 and then again in 1975 if the car world had remained stable. But with all the regulations and gas crises and everything else, it put everything for a spin. So the American car, its glory days, stayed with us past its moment. Now, when I got this car, I had already had a few other iterations of it. I prefer not having silver, but having the maroon interior does make it 70s correct. And, you know, I had it in, I think a Chevrolet version. And, you know, I've gotten rid of them over the years because, you know, you just do. You know, you wax and wane through what you want to have and don't want to have, or you want to purge. And, you know, so I ended up owning this again in a Buick form. Matter of fact, if I found it in Pontiac form, especially, or Buick form, I don't think I've ever seen it in Olds, and I haven't ever seen it in Pontiac. I would pick it up again. You know, it's a Johnny Lightning, which may be Auto World now, and it makes for a unique American car. I don't even know if these are very, you know, pricey or desirable on the collector car market. You think they would be because they are so special. I mean, the pillars in the back, I mean, it was like 1950s design grafted onto a 1970s car. And these cars were huge. I mean, you talk about the pickup trucks of today. Well, they're a lot bigger, probably a foot bigger in many cases. But this was elegant. This didn't have to be, you know, in your face, you know, 2 stories high. The lower the better, and the longer the better. And, you know, it was an American car before American cars had to reinvent themselves. I suppose cars and everything else reinvent themselves on a regular basis. It all depends on when you join the party. So when I joined the party in about 1968, and then these came out in the fall of 70, it just seemed like, you know, things were getting better and better by the moment. Anyway, so station wagons basically became small after that when the cars shrunk in 77 and 79. Station wagons no longer had the bulk that they needed, and along came the SUVs and the minivans, and you know, there's no substitute for length, and then the pickup trucks, but the age of this automobile is gone. I may lament it, I may think it's the perfect size, the perfect style, but you know, it depends on where your eyes were brought up, and my eyes just happened to be brought up in its moment. So anyway, we take a look as usual at the car collection. There's a lot of cars here now, and a few of them have been featured on my show, and a few have been added. But today's episode, the clamshell wagon, is indeed a piece of automobilia that is not really celebrated anymore. Now, as usual, I would like to take this out for a spin with you in it, and you know, 8 of your closest friends. But you know, we're living in an age where you couldn't get 8 of your closest friends in a station wagon with this, you know, magnitude, with still not being, you know, socially unacceptable. So we're gonna skip that. I'll take it for a ride tomorrow. I'll drive down to the beach and you know, put a few beach bunnies in the back, and I'll drive them around to get a tan with the windows closed and me at the wheel with my hands occupied, and nobody should have a problem that way. Anyway, that's it, folks. The 1975 Buick Estate Wagon clamshell tailgate. You know, when you say they don't make them like they used to, this really proves the point. And will they ever come out with it again? Well, they say never, but I wouldn't, let's just put it this way. I'd save up for an old one before I'd wait for the new one. So, folks, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you all next time. From Dave's Garage, enjoy.